In Zimbabwe, being a company director is not just a title. It can carry real personal responsibility when decisions go wrong. So, who is a company director? A director is a person appointed to manage and control a company. Directors guide operations, finances, compliance, and governance. They help shape the future of the business, but they also carry legal duties. That is why the law expects them to act honestly, responsibly, and in the best interests of the company. And here is an important point many businesses miss. Under the Companies and Other Business Entities Act, the people who sign a company's memorandum can be treated as directors until other directors are formally appointed. So saying, "We have not appointed directors yet," is not a safe excuse if decisions are already being made. Before a person becomes a director, there must be proper consent in writing. Their details must then be submitted to the registrar. In practice, companies should make sure the full names, address, and occupation details are accurate and complete. A director can also withdraw that consent in writing before the list is lodged with the registrar. If that withdrawal is properly filed, the law treats that person as if they never consented at all. Now, not everyone can become a director in every company. For public companies especially, the law is stricter. Minors, people under legal disability, insolvent persons, and individuals convicted of serious offences such as theft, fraud, forgery, or perjury may be disqualified. The reason is simple. Public companies hold public trust, investor money, and wider responsibility. The law wants the gatekeepers to be reliable. And disqualification has teeth. If a person who is legally disqualified still takes part in management, it can become a criminal issue, not just an internal company problem. So boards must treat red flags seriously. Insolvency, prior fraud convictions, or other disqualifying facts are not small matters. They are compliance emergencies. Once appointed, a director's duties begin. They must avoid conflicts of interest. They must protect company assets. They must not misuse their position for personal gain. They must ensure the company complies with tax laws, labour laws, and filing requirements. They must also make decisions with care, skill, and honesty. In many cases, the law will look at whether the director was properly informed, had no personal interest in the matter, and honestly believed the decision was in the company's best interests. That is why good directors do not just act fast. They act carefully. They ask questions. They check the facts. They keep records. Good governance is no longer only about shareholders. Modern company leadership also looks at employees, customers, suppliers, the community, the environment, and the company's reputation. A director who thinks broadly is often a director who protects the business better. How are directors appointed? Usually, appointment happens through the company's governance process, often at a general meeting. For companies other than private companies, the law places limits on bundle voting. In other words, multiple directors should not simply be pushed through in one resolution unless the meeting first agrees, without opposition, to do it that way. This protects shareholders from being forced into an all-or-nothing slate. That matters because board appointments shape the whole company. The wrong appointment process can trigger disputes later. The right process creates legitimacy from the start. Now let us talk about removal and resignation. A director may be removed by shareholders at a general meeting, usually by a majority of the votes entitled to vote. But the notice for that meeting must clearly say that removal is on the agenda. A surprise vote is not compliant. A director may also resign voluntarily by giving written notice. Resignation is not just a handshake and a goodbye. The notice should be clear, and it takes effect when given, unless it says the resignation will begin on a future date. If a replacement is already lined up, that person only takes office on that effective date. After removal or resignation, the paperwork must follow quickly. Company records must be updated, and the relevant CR6 and other statutory information should be corrected without delay. Leaving old names on file creates confusion, and confusion creates risk. Board meetings are where directors do much of their real work. That is where company decisions are discussed and resolved. But if board decisions are not minuted properly, the company is exposed. The law requires minutes to be prepared promptly after the meeting and then reviewed and adopted at the next meeting. Minutes are not admin, they are legal evidence. They should show the time and place, who attended, and what was discussed. Good minutes protect the company, the directors, and the secretary. Poor minutes do the opposite. For public companies, board structure matters too. The law requires at least 3 non-executive or independent directors. Independence is important because it helps reduce bias and improves oversight. A board that is too closely tied to management can lose balance very quickly. And once trust is lost, governance becomes weak. Directors' remuneration also has to be transparent. Public company accounts must disclose the aggregate amount of directors' emoluments, pensions for directors and past directors, and compensation for loss of office. This is because pay and benefits should not be hidden inside vague administration figures. Transparency builds confidence. The same applies to loans and similar benefits. Companies must disclose particulars of loans, guarantees, or security provided to directors and other officers, subject to limited exceptions. In some cases, small staff loans or ordinary money-lending business may be treated differently. But the principle remains the same. If company resources are being used for insiders, the law wants visibility. Now let us move to records and filings, because this is where many companies struggle. A company must keep proper statutory records. That includes registers of members, directors, charges, and other required documents. These should be kept at or near the registered office and be ready for inspection where the law requires it. The registered office itself must also be properly maintained, and the company should keep its CR6 related details current. If the business changes address and does not update its records, it is inviting unnecessary trouble. Annual returns are another area where companies often fall behind. Here is the deadline many businesses miss. The annual return is due within 21 days of the anniversary of incorporation, registration, or re-registration. It must be certified by a director and the secretary, and a signed duplicate should be kept at the registered office. That is not a once-a-year formality. It is a recurring legal duty. And as compliance systems move toward electronic filing, companies should stay alert to registry changes and re-registration requirements. If your company has not checked its status, now is the time. Delays can create bigger problems later. Why do companies get into trouble? Usually not because the law is unclear. They get into trouble because they ignore records, fail to file returns, forget to update directors, or assume informal practices are enough. They are not. If your board decisions are not minuted properly, you are not being flexible. You are being exposed. If your registers are incomplete, your governance is weak. If your returns are late, penalties and disputes can follow. The good news is that compliance is manageable. Strong corporate governance brings accountability, transparency, and stability. It protects the business, it protects the directors. It also gives investors, employees, and partners confidence that the company is being run properly. So the lesson is clear. Directors hold power, but that power comes with responsibility. The right appointment process matters. Disqualification rules matter. Duties matter. Minutes matter. Records matter. Annual returns matter. Every detail counts. If you are unsure whether your directors, minutes, CR6 details, and annual returns are up to date, schedule a formal compliance check with Todini Consultancy today.